Carson Wentz benched a couple plays in for Jalen Hurts. Carson Wentz has looked terrible this year. And now, I mean, it's a weird situation because now there's rumors like that the Colts might be interested because of Frank Wright in the relationship he had and how well he played under Frank Wright. That's a big contract. Like, they can't cut him.
Right.
And now they're going to have a high draft pick. They got to see what they have in Jalen Hurts. Like, what are we thinking? Let's flip the script here from a super flex perspective, right? So 2 QB league.
Getting back to the numbers, they can't get rid of him.
No.
If he's not on the roster, he's going to work. He's going to be worth like almost $55 million against
you don't pay that
next year, and then 2022 or what it'll be like 25 million. So they can't. It's another crappy contract that they're going to be stuck with. We were talking about this Alshon Jeffrey thing for the past 2 years about how terrible that contract is, and Carson Wentz is worse than his somehow. So they literally can't get rid of this guy.
He's got a lot. They should just do everything they can this offseason to work with him and try to get him back where he needs to be. Because he just looks lost.
It's a really tough situation, and that's going to be the thing for Jalen Hurts. I don't know that I trust him long term, not because I necessarily think he's a terrible player, but watching his tape, I don't trust his arm from college. So,
and that's the main thing.
That's definitely the main thing. But on top of that, even if, let's say he has one good week, let's say this week he looks pretty decent, the offense does good. I think that's more of a, the team's been energized, new blood on at the quarterback position. But long term, with how the offensive line is, with how the receivers are, with how this team is right now, I just don't see how he can be successful long term. So as crazy as it seems, this might be the sell high window on Jalen Hurts already.
Oh, for sure. Superflex, like going to the playoffs.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm selling Jalen Hurts. If I can
if
somehow
you can, if
get a high
deadline.
I would take a high second today, like 2-1, 2-2, 2-3 for Hurts today. If somebody can squeak out a late first, I would take that too because I'm with you. The arm talent, like Jalen Hurts falls into me like kind of like the Colt McCoy, right? But more mobile.
Sure.
Like he's a more mobile Colt McCoy. Like arm strength just isn't there. Just not overall, like he's not a...
Accuracy, ball placement, none of that's there for me when I watch his game. He's not as good of a passer, I don't think, as like Lamar Jackson, and he's not nearly the athlete.
Yeah.
So but they're going to try to run a similar type of offense with him.
And you have to like fully commit to that's what the Ravens had to do to even make them look that good for a season.
Right.
They had to fully invest in that type of system. I don't even know that the Eagles know what system they're trying to invest in right now, and to try to do that on the fly in the middle of the season. So that's kind of my thoughts on Hurts. But going back to Wentz, I think we're going to have to look at, and Jared and I were talking about this on the way up, we're going to have to probably look at some type of NBA deal if they're going to end up moving him, because they're not going to get the picks that he's probably worth because of how big that contract is. So you're probably looking at like a second or third round pick. That's all you would have to give up at this point to get a guy like Carson Wentz, which a Colts or somebody like that might be willing to pull the trigger on something like that.
Yeah, you might be able to do something too where you get like, hey, the Colts who are going to be, if they make the playoffs, they have a late first. Hey, we'll take their first and we'll give you our second in Carson Wentz.
Sure.
Something on those lines to move up. But yeah, his contract is going to be the hindrance there. But the Colts make all the sense in the world. Frank Wright, former worked with Carson Wentz. They need a quarterback outside.
It's a good team.
Yeah, outside of Phillip Rivers, and they have Jacoby Brissett there as well, so they can bring him in and compete. But I mean, hopefully, I think can Carson Wentz be fixed is the question, because right now it looks like it's more mental than anything else. He's just making really bad decisions, throwing a triple coverage instead of throwing to the open guy. It's just he looks completely lost.
We talked about quarterbacks and a team's ability to kind of ruin them, a la David Carr. We just talked about that last week.
Yeah. Yep.
And this feels like it's getting to that point with him, and maybe that's why they pulled him. And maybe it's to try to kind of, hey, Carson, take a step back, kind of reset yourself. And because I honestly don't. I mean, I think it's a lovely situation. Hey, let's see him go to the Colts. I'm just not sure if it's feasible. So they may be stuck with him. They may be trying to protect their investment by pulling him out at this point in the season.
I wouldn't hate a Ryan Tannehill type of situation where he goes somewhere, has to sit a little bit, and then gets the opportunity to come in and storm the gates there. But would you guys buy low at this point? Is he worth buying low on? Because you're going to have to give up a first in Superflex leagues to get him. Is it worth it?
I think the more that Jalen Hurts plays and the closer you get to the off. Listen, the dynasty season's over, right? So why
the fantasy season's over?
Yeah, the fantasy regular season's over. So why even make that move now? Like, odds are they're gonna give Jalen Hurts a couple more starts. Like, let people let's get closer to there's no more season whatsoever, no playoffs, and then try and make some moves. Let the draft capital start build up, because maybe this time next year or after the NFL draft, say the Colts say they draft a quarterback, or Jalen Hurts starts for the rest of the season. I mean, Carson Wentz's value can only go down. Like, it's not going up by any means. If he gets traded to the Colts, even then, is that a huge spike to his value? It helps a little bit because he's a starter.
Yeah. I mean, I think I would think it would help a lot, because he's going to a situation where the offensive line isn't a wreck.
Stable.
They have actual established wide receivers there and a very similar system. So,
then he's worth then I feel comfortable giving him a first, because I know he goes to the Colts.
I think at that point you'd have to give more than a first if he went there. I think I could be wrong.
I think the move is if you know that the person in whoever owns the shares of Carson Wentz in your league, if you know that person is disenchanted with Wentz at this point, then go strike now.
Yeah,
but if it's one of these things where the guy's holding on, or the lady, whoever owns the shares, is holding on, then you wait. You just wait it out.
So you wouldn't give a first right now. Would you give a high second to get Carson Wentz?
Here's I would definitely give a high second, 100%, because he's gonna get another opportunity somewhere to start. Like,
I think so too.
If somebody trades for him, you're taking on his contract. He's going to play again. He's going to be given at least an opportunity to play again. And for me, the only thing I hesitate to do that with is because this draft class is it's tough, deep at quarterback and position players. And right now, if I could probably, with how many quarterbacks are going to go in a super flex draft by the time we get to this time in April, I get a position player, say I can get a Devontae Smith, right? Say I can get a Jamar Chase, mid to late first. And say that person turns into like we were talking about, a Justin Jefferson, right?
Right.
You can trade Justin Jefferson for Carson Wentz in a Superflex league right now and get Carson Wentz plus. You can get that quarterback that's middle of the road plus. Like, so to me, I know the Superflex position is valuable, but I'm always looking for the better fantasy football player. So I believe currently that better fantasy football player right now is in the 2021 first round rookie draft.
Real quick,